You're listening to Accounted For, the Canadian podcast that explores the intangibles of every career. I'm your host, Daniel Lee. Hey folks, happy Wednesday. Today's guest is Armin Yassaie. Armin is one of the co-owners of a local Toronto coffee shop called Mos Mos. And honestly, this was a great interview. I really was excited all throughout. You could probably hear it in my voice as I just could not contain my excitement at certain points because I had this little dream of mine of owning a coffee shop and talking to someone who was an accountant and decided to go operate a coffee shop, and not just one but currently 3 locations with potentially more coming online. It was just an exciting time, and we go through everything from Armin's family background, where he was just exposed to small businesses at a very young age, and that continued to kind of really spiral into his path of just launching the new locations for Mos Mos, and all the experience that goes into what it takes. Like, he was an accountant, he quits, and doesn't really know that much about coffee, and so what it really takes to learn about something completely different and actually operate a business where you're actually running a business from like 9 to 9 at minimum. And we go through things like the operating issues of an espresso machine breaking at 2 in the morning, and what do you do at that point for preparing for the morning rush. And we go through other things like, if I wanted to start a coffee shop, what is the mental model that I have to employ to start a coffee shop? And so we'll go through all these various cool aspects of operating a business, and I really do hope that you find this interview as enjoyable, as fun as I did. And so without further ado, please tune in. All right. Hi, everyone. Today we're joined by the co-owner of Mos Mos Coffee, Armin Yassaie. Armin, thanks for taking the time to join us today.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, and so, Mos Mos is a very popular joint in, I would say, downtown Toronto's financial district. I was a very, avid customer of Mos Mos when it first opened as well, and so a lot of the listeners that are working around that area will be very familiar with the name. And so, I want to kind of dig back into your kind of childhood in terms of, how this kind of came about. I asked this because one of my coworkers, back when I was a consultant, she would tell me about how, she used to grow up in Slovenia, and how her parents owned a coffee shop, and so every morning she'd wake up to the smell of like roasting beans, and so she's always loved coffee. Is that the kind of childhood that you grew up with, or how does that begin for you?
No, growing up in Toronto, it wasn't anything like that. I grew up in Richmond Hill.
Okay.
My life was really school and a lot of sports. It was volleyball, basketball, tennis, and that's kind of took me to university. Mm-hmm. In university, I started seeing, my family, my friends, a lot of people have small businesses. And I saw people start from, whether it was one retail shop or one construction site where they're building 8 houses, to now, hey, we just bought 18 acres of land and we're building 400 houses. So I really got to see more of the business side of things, saying, okay, you know what? This is what I want to do eventually. And when I went to university, I was always, in the summers, I would work in some sort of retail. In high school, I did Extreme Pita, I did Hollister, I did The Bay. So it was always, okay, what are these places about? How am I going to take what I know and in 5-10 years kind of start my own thing with it?
Mm-hmm. Okay, so like your direct family also owns a small business as well?
So yeah, a lot of my family's in construction.
Oh, okay.
So that's where I saw, okay, how are they, like, what is this 9 to 5 everyone talks about? I don't see it. So when I actually started working not 9 to 5, but let's say quote unquote 9 to 5.
Yeah.
It was kind of unorthodox to me because I grew up seeing, oh, hey, I got a meeting at 7 a.m. in Whitby. So 5:30 I'm out of the door, and it's construction, so you're usually home by 3:34.
Mm-hmm.
So that was kind of what I saw growing up, and that's what I expected of myself. But in terms of actual coffee, that more started when I was in university, where I started drinking coffee. At KPMG, I started drinking coffee, and I kind of just said, what's this magic stuff? So that was how the coffee part started.
Okay, yeah. So as we kind of lead into that, when I look at your background on LinkedIn, for example, you went to school for criminology, and then you went into Ivy at University of Western Ontario, and then you go into be an accountant at KPMG. So you put on the suit, do the proverbial 9 to 5. It never is really 9 to 5, but yeah, that sense. And then you go into operating Mos Mos. So where in that sequence does coffee continue to grow, and where does the idea of transitioning into being like the small business owner that you constantly felt that you would be kind of come into play?
So when I was at Western in my first 2 years, I wanted to actually be a lawyer. And I said,
really?
Yeah.
Okay.
I took criminology, and after about 1 week, I said, I don't want to be a lawyer. So that was that. And then I said, you know what? It's always going to be business. And that's what led me to Ivy. So Richard School of Ivy. When I got there, they pretty much say, look, there's marketing, there's accounting, there's finance, there's consulting.
Yeah.
It's the four major...
Yes.
This is it. Like, this is what you have here. Pick one and have a nice day. So I said, I have no idea what I want to do again. So it was kind of, okay, what do I pick? Accounting, the classic phrase you hear is a CA opens your doors. So I said, okay, sure, let's open my doors, because eventually, I have no idea what I want to do, but I want to do something small business related. So a CA would naturally just be the best route. And when I was actually at KPMG, that's when I realized, I made the right choice. This will allow me now to, let's start my own business. Now I know from 0 to 100, the operations, the marketing, the finance, the actual accounting. There's pretty much nothing you don't do at KPMG that will allow you to succeed in a small business in Toronto.
And what was there like a particular moment during your time there? Could you elaborate on like what gave you the confidence to say that?
So I would say after my first year, because your first year you're thrown in there and you have no idea what you're doing. They'll say, hey, Armin, you do section XYZ, and I just nod my head and I say, yep, I'll get that done. And it's really just look what they did last year and try to figure it out. And I realized the problem solving of the accounting world is what I liked, where it's not very straight up in terms of if you're going to do this and there's no one to help you, you just figure it out. And that's when I realized, okay, this is what I want to do, but on a larger scale and not just on an accounting scale. So I want to, okay, here's a lease. How are we going to change this so it benefits us, but also the landlord says yes? Or here is, a box of coffee, let's say. It's too expensive. What can we do to not sacrifice the quality and, have a good price, good relationship with our supplier? So it's really just taking everything in the supply chain, which is kind of like taking everything I learned at KPMG after my first year and saying, this is what I want to do after I qualify. So it took around 3 years to actually get my CA, to get my working hours done. And then the day after I qualified, I went into my manager's office, and they knew right away. Like, they knew from a year and a half in, they knew the day I qualified, I'm leaving. So he was really super supportive. He said, I knew this day was coming. Kind of the talk, go follow your dreams, go do what you want to do. It's a little cheesy, but that's what it was. So everyone knew I knew, and I just had to wait to actually qualify. And even during those last 2 years, you do gain a lot of experience, because as you move up in KPMG, not when you're a junior, but when you're a senior, you're actually now working with, internally, you're working with KPMG partners who obviously have 20, 30, 40 years of experience. But also on the client side, you're working with CFOs, controllers, not just, let's say, a junior accountant or an assistant, something like that. You're working with people who have been in the field for 20, 30 years. So they expect a lot from you. And that's when you learn, okay, what I learned today, I have to take this into my small business, because every single little detail here counts, out there times 10. So that's kind of what KPMG taught me. And they say the classic phrase of, hey, get your CA, it'll open your doors. It really does open your doors. They say work-life balance, 9 to 5. Everyone knows it's audit at the end of the day. It's not 9 to 5. It'll never be 9 to 5. But there's certain keys, relationships, networking events, and tools you'll learn from getting your CA that will allow you to become an investment banker, become a consultant, open a small business, become an actor. It really doesn't matter, because it's so broad that you just learn really a solid set of tools, I would say, in these 3 years where you're getting your CA.
Yeah, no, I think from my time back when I was in audit, I could definitely relate to the problem-solving element, especially when you do get, I think I was very fortunate that I had great mentors who threw me into the fire and allowed me to learn by, just by trial. And I think that for me was the best way of learning. And yeah, I think I was able to benefit greatly from that. I think for me personally, it might be a difference of clientele as well. I think because I was specialized in like investment banks and the large banks, it was hard for me to see the large, boil down the large organization into a small scale, just because we'd only be segregated into just doing, I'm just going to be an investment bank auditor and I'm just going to look at that. I'll only look at deals. And so I was very good at knowing deals and learning about investments and stuff, but that was my entire little world. And so I did feel personally for me, and that's why I felt I was limited in my learning, and that's why I jumped into management consulting, just because I felt that'll open up my doors more in terms of my breadth. But I guess from what you're telling me, like, it seemed like you had a much more potentially diverse set of experiences, but also even an opportunity to see businesses that weren't too big, or at least be able to be in a role where you could see the bigger picture.
Yeah, so one thing I did a lot was in audit, I worked with real estate.
Oh, okay, yeah.
And naturally, when you work with real estate, LOIs are one thing that's really big. And that's the one thing now is whenever a location comes up and we get an LOI or a lease, I take this, I'm like, give me my pen, I'll see you guys in 2 hours. And you just classic do your auditing, your lease, same as we did before. So it's a lot of direct tools in that way, where I did this 3 years ago 100 times. This is just the 101st time, 102nd time.
Yeah.
And yeah, there were some other smaller clients. In my internship, I actually did enterprise. So those were way smaller clients.
Right, yeah. And for the audience that don't know, KPMG Enterprise does like the private small businesses, right? And you'll get to see like the whole picture. And I think even some of my colleagues in enterprise, sometimes it's just like a solo auditor. It's just you in a one-man team, and you do the full audit yourself. Yep. Yeah.
So the first job, you could say the 2-week job, it was just me and a senior. And you're an intern, you're 18, and I go in there and I'm just like, wow, this is corporate life.
Yeah.
I have no idea what I'm doing. I take the laptop, he's just clicking away, and that's it, just me and him. And I thought there would be, a boardroom of 10 guys in a suit, and nope, this is what it is, and this is real life. So it was a good start, for sure.
Yeah. Honestly, sometimes I actually think, like when I was younger, when I first joined audit, I actually, I said I wanted to do like financial institutions. I want to have big banks as my clients. But in hindsight, I really do think I would have preferred to have gone to enterprise or done a lot of small businesses as clients, just because then I think I'd get so much of the learning. And given what I'm doing now and what I want to do in the future, like I want to have my own small businesses as well, I think it just would have been much more transferable than just really knowing how to do a corporate finance revenue audit, for example. Okay, so you got this great experience, and now, that transition into coffee, like how did that come about?
So the exact story was when I was at KPMG.
Yeah.
Obviously, the one thing you look forward to is coffee breaks.
Yeah.
Like, hey guys, we get 10, 15, 20 minutes. Let's go downstairs for a coffee. So at that time, occasionally we would go to Mos Mos, and there was one location in Commerce Court, and I knew, so one of my really good friends, which is my business partner now, his uncle actually started the brand.
Oh, okay.
So his uncle started Commerce Court, and that was it. There was one Mos Mos, one coffee shop, and my partner said, hey, this is my uncle, he started Mos Mos, it's okay, let's go there every day. So I started going there a lot more and just talking to him. Oh, how does this work, how does that work, what do you think about this, what do you think about that, and just picking his brain. And then one thing led to another, and there were just so many people that would come up to him and say, hey, I love the brand, I want a franchise, or hey, where are you guys going? What's the future of this brand? And that's when me and my partner said, we think we can take this and make it into something big. So we kind of partnered up with them and said, hey, let's see what we can do with Mos Mos, and let's see where we can take it. So that's when I left KPMG right away. I started barista, like literally behind the counter, making lattes, making cappuccinos, making flat whites. I went to barista school. I went to cupping classes. So cupping is, for those who don't know, it's how you kind of judge coffee.
Okay.
You would take a sip with a spoon and you kind of slurp it. It's a little gross, but you slurp it, and then you have a cup on the side where you spit your coffee back in, and then you're kind of sitting at a communal table and you say, okay, let's talk about the physical elements of that coffee.
Oh, wow.
So that's how you get a evaluation in, let's say, KPMG.
Yeah.
In coffee, you do cupping. And every coffee is done blind, so you have no idea whose is who. It can be your coffee, it could be person X, person Y, it can be an instant coffee. The whole point of this is you have communal judging, and it's all done blind. So it's a really good system. That's when I really developed, you can say, a palate for coffee.
Yeah.
And when I left KPMG, it was just nonstop. YouTube, Google, oh, there's this class, there's this show in LA, there's this show in Toronto, let's go to Seattle, I want to see this store. And you kind of just say, I want to know everything.
Yeah.
And that's when you really get passionate about what you're doing, and that will allow you to say, it's not really work anymore, you're enjoying and you're learning every day. So it doesn't matter, now it's 9 to 9, so what, I actually like what I'm doing, I want to learn more. So that's kind of how the coffee started. Commerce Court was there, and at that time when I left KPMG, we were discussing with Brookfield for our second store. That would be our Exchange Tower location. So that opened in April 2017. That one went well. I was just there today and walked over here. Everything's going well. We're introducing new products. And then we said, okay, what's next? Water Park Place, which is 20 Bay Street, which is just across from here. That was Oxford. So they came along saying, hey, we saw your Brookfield Brookfield Exchange Tower store, and we like what you do. What do you think of this location? So the location at 20 Bay Street was previously a second cup, and we said, we love the location. So we took that over in December 2017, and we opened in December, and then now we have our fourth location that will be opening this December, and we have a fifth one in the winter coming as well. So it's going good.
Wow.
We're
that's kind of a lot of expanding.
Yeah. Well, it's once you have you believe in your product, you believe in your experience, you believe in your staff. Why wouldn't you expand? That's what we're here to do, and we think we have the controls in place, the operations in place that will allow us to expand, but not dilute the brand.
Right. And so I kind of want to take a step back and touch upon that earlier moment when you decide, okay, I'm going to leave, but at that point you hadn't been a barista, you hadn't done any cupping classes, and so you quit with the idea of, I think I'm going to really enjoy running a coffee business. Like, where did you get the kind of certainty, or how did you get over that lack of certainty, if that was the case?
Yeah, so there definitely was no certainty. When people, especially in the accounting world, it's get your CA and, go be a controller, go be a VP finance, and, you'll have 2 weeks off before your new job. This was just quit and go learn coffee. Yeah. So it was totally 360. But during KPMG, I was always speaking to our now partners. Still, I wouldn't say I had any advanced knowledge in coffee, but I was always trying to learn kind of on the side by myself. Okay, what is drip coffee? What is this coffee belt? Or what does this mean? How do you do this better? How do you do that better?
Yeah.
But it was really more, okay, we think we have the business background in terms of operations to take this to the next level. Mm-hmm. We think the brand is and could be one of the best coffee brands out there. Mm. And we really looked at the marketplace. So 5 years ago, you really had Starbucks in a class on its own. Mm. You had Starbucks top tier coffee. You had Tim Hortons on the other side. And then you had your kind of stragglers, Second Cup, Timothy's, and all these bigger chains kind of in the middle. Mm. So depending on who you were, you would say, okay, I'm a Starbucks drinker, or, Timmy's Double is for me. So we saw a big gap from Timmy's to Starbucks, saying, okay, there's a huge gap that is unattended to. If you're just doing X or Y, how about there's so many more options for coffee? So that's when you really started to see this thing that we call the third wave coffee. Mm. So it's a lot of coffee purist style, where you go in, they only make one drink at a time. It takes a little bit longer, but the drink is made and measured and made to perfection, you can say. So we took that idea, and we took the idea of Starbucks and said, we think we have a great product, but so does everyone else. Other people have great coffee, other people have great espresso. What can we do to be different? And that is the experience. Mm. So the experience that we have in Hanukkah, kind of how Mos Mos works, is when you arrive at the store, it's more like a restaurant type grab and go coffee.
Right.
So instead of ordering over a cashier, that's kind of become mundane now. It's boring. Hey, can I have a double? Okay, thanks. Have a nice day. What can we do differently? And that's when the sticker system kind of came about. So what the sticker system is every single drink has a corresponding sticker. So if you want a latte, you physically grab a latte sticker, you put it in the middle of your cup, and then one of us will write your name on the cup. What that allows us to do is two things. Number one is, you have your sticker. If you're a matcha kind of person, that's your sticker. You bring your friend, now you're teaching them, saying, hey, look, these are how the stickers work. If you want a coffee with one milk, you grab this sticker. If you want a double, you grab this sticker. So it's very intuitive, it's very informative, and more anything, it's fun. You don't just say, hey, just drink your coffee and kind of walk away. You want that break, especially in the financial district. You're working 12, 10, 15-hour days. You just need 10, 15 minutes to Mos Mos. So what Mos Mos actually means is, it's a dialect of Swahili. The direct translation is cut the noise and savor the moment.
Oh, really?
Yeah, so that's something we've now implemented in our 3rd, 4th, and 5th store.
Yeah.
If you look at the back wall, there's a huge Mos Mos, and it'll look kind of like a dictionary definition, and it'll say, number 1, cut the noise, number 2, savor the moment. And we've also now put that on our ice cups, trying to say, hey, look, this is what Mos Mos means. This is why we're calling it Mos Mos.
Yeah.
Just take 10 minutes, relax, drink your coffee, and then go back to doing whatever you got to do.
Right.
So in terms of what's next in the process, we would take your cup after you put it on the sticker and we put on your name. You would then follow the line where we have a range of goodies, treats, and how we did these goodies and treats and says, look, anyone can make a chocolate chip cookie. it is what it is, right? So how can you do something that's different? What can you add to your chocolate chip cookie, or what can you add to your X cookie or X brownie that says, oh no, I want to go to Mos Mos, not XYZ shop. So every single product that we have has a little twist on it, whether it's from an international supplier, whether we make it ourselves and add some newer products to it. We don't want to just sell something you can buy somewhere else. We want you to have an experience and say, I'm going to Mos Mos because I want their goo cookie or whatever that product, or I want a matcha cookie. So that's kind of the cookie and treats area. Now, when you put your sticker on the cup and we take it, it allows us to start your drink a lot earlier than if you order over the cashier. So we would now take your cup, and whether it's a latte or a coffee, we would make your actual drink almost before you're at the cash. So when you're at the cash and you say, hey, I had a small coffee, your coffee's almost done. So usually you order and then you have to wait 2-3 minutes. We're trying to pretty much kill the bottleneck, and that's something we took away from the business world, saying, what do people not like doing is waiting, right? Everyone's busy. We know it. Everyone's got to go. So once you pay, or we want you to wait 30 seconds, 1 minute max, and say, here's your half sweet vanilla almond latte. We made it that fast. So that's how that process would go. If you do get a brewed coffee or drip coffee, what we're really known at is we only use steam milk. So if you were to get a coffee with 2 milks or 1 milk, we don't have a physical milk bar. We have only steam milk. So you would just tell us what it is and we do the rest. You get your coffee. At the end of the coffee line, we call it our pour station, or where we would call your name. That's where we kind of do the last touch of creativity and add something on top. So if you were to get a brewed coffee, I would say small coffee for Daniel. When you're walking towards me, you'll see that all our baristas are putting this powder on top.
Yes, yeah.
That powder is just coffee. So it's coffee dust, where it's a little silver kind of beaker container type device where a tiny bit goes on top, and we make a quick 2-second design on it, and it just adds an extra kick to your coffee. And it allows us to make a nice design with it. All you got to do after you get your coffee is put on your lid. If you even, there's a lot of people now drinking without a lid, and then that's it. We do the sugar, we do the milk. If you want almond milk, if you want, it doesn't matter. We're really trying to customize every single drink for whoever it may be, but also not sacrifice speed and quality. So that's kind of how the operational line of a store would go. And as we evolve, we always add some stuff, or change a little here, change a little there. And that's how, when we went from Commerce Court to Exchange Shower to Water Park Place, we're always innovating, we're always changing this and saying, okay, you know what, we think customers will like X over Y, so let's put that into place. So yeah, that's really about the ops and kind of how the business will work in terms of just ordering a normal coffee. And yeah, I mean,
no,
that was a lot, but
no, that's honestly truly fascinating. I think when you were telling me about the operations, what it reminded me of was, so this past summer I went to Vienna with my family, and I went to a lot of art museums, and I'm not much for art. Like, I look at it and I go, that's cool. It's like a red square.
Yeah, same.
Yeah, it's but like I was looking at these Picasso pieces, and I was like, I don't really understand why he's so famous. And I had an audio guide, and it was explaining to me why this picture was famous, like the thought process of the artist that went into creating like a particular painting. And I loved it so much that I ended up buying a postcard for the painting. And I didn't notice all the things, like the details that you mentioned, like, because I go to Mos Mos a lot, and yeah, I use the sticker. I wait in line and I pay at the end, and I see the coffee dust coming on the drinks. But when you explained that to me, like, it just kind of started clicking in terms of, it's true. Yeah, like it's different. The sticker thing is different, and I do get a different experience because someone actually asked me for my name, and we kind of have like light banter, kind of chatter, and by the time I'm paying, my coffee is actually already ready. But yeah, now that you explain it, I'm noticing all the things that actually were in place, and so it's actually very fascinating, especially because you're describing the thought process that actually went into it, and now I think I can get a better appreciation of it, and hopefully the audience will get a better appreciation of it as well. And so you did mention about like the third wave of coffee, and I love coffee, and I think I can confidently say I've been to probably about 80% of all the coffee shops in like the downtown kind of area, and like my ideal Sunday is like 4 hours at a coffee shop, take a break and go to another coffee shop for 4 hours. Like that's my jam.
It's a good Sunday.
And yeah, exactly. And so I've been noticing a lot of other coffee, like local Toronto coffee shops, like Pilot, Early Bird, Denise, you name it, all kind of expanding and growing their locations as well. So how does that kind of competitive landscape look from your perspective in this Toronto coffee scene?
So yeah, third wave is really, really growing.
Yeah.
I just came back from a coffee show in LA where you can say them in Seattle are doing wave 3.5, where they just have, if you think Toronto has a lot of coffee shops, you should go there. It's unbelievable how many shops they have. But at the end of the day, they are more of, you can say, a coffee purist type play, where we like to focus on having a really, really broad menu, where we have things like our matcha is actually from Japan. We have a cardamom chai, we have a masala chai, we have taro latte. None of these things are from Canada. So what we're focusing on is what can we have in our menu that will allow us to say, oh, hey, I want to go to Mos Mos because of this drink, because of that drink. I want to go get their mango chai. I want to go get their vanilla chai. Or we have a latte Mumbai. So what we're doing is taking an international spin on things, but also focusing on the experience. So we can't lose the sticker system. We can't lose, the way, that light conversation, that feeling you have when you walk into the store. We want to be different. So these other coffee shops, Early Bird, Deneen, Pilot, they're all good. I mean, having good coffee in today's age, a lot of people do have good coffee, but what are those details that you put into your coffee or into your store that will make you different than the next store? And that's what we're really focusing on now, is let's not really focus on 6 things. Let's have an espresso, an Americano, and a drip coffee. Let's have 30 things, and make sure if you want X and you're a coffee guy, you want an espresso, you're just going to get a double shot, and then but your friend wants a triple, we have both. We don't want to limit our menu for someone who doesn't know anything. I don't really like coffee. Do you have a tea? Yeah, we have 24 teas. So take your pick. Do you want a tea latte? We have 10 tea lattes. And they go, wow, okay, I'm going to find what I like. So it's really taking this third wave type coffee and combining it with what we have today. And you can say whether that's wave 3.5 or 2.5, that's more what we're doing with our future. And we're just, keep being different, keep innovating, and keep serving good coffee.
And like, I think the item that really piqued my interest was the Mumbai latte that you just said. So
yeah, then that's what I mean. It's these stickers and it's these names where you say like, what is a Mumbai? Our Mumbai latte is actually from India.
Oh.
So when someone tastes our Mumbai latte and our masala chai is imported directly from India. So when they taste it, they go, wow, this is like back home, or this is like how I was just in Mumbai or New Delhi last weekend and it tastes the same. So what we're trying to do is saying, yeah, India makes the best chai out there. Right. That's just, if you want matcha, you go to Japan. Right. It is what it is. So we're not trying to compete with India or Japan. We're trying to now say, okay, they do have the best products. Let's bring it in from the best place you can possibly bring it in. And that's going to make our product superior. And that's kind of how we believe in every product. So let's say our taro's from Taiwan. So it's not like where you know, oh, I can just have this down the street. It's, you got to go to Taiwan to have this. So yeah, it's really just an international twist on things, because especially Toronto being number one in the world, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, we're one of the top for sure.
Yeah, on
multicultural.
Yeah, right? Like, you know how multicultural it is, right?
Yeah.
You have, so we just have a new drink. It's called an iced Lao latte. It's from Laos. So someone, it was 2-3 weeks ago, someone's like, oh, this literally tastes like what I have back at home. It is what you have back at home. It's from Laos. It's directly imported. It's how you import these items and figure out the logistics that becomes now the harder part of selling these products and making sure the consistency. Okay, if it's from India, how are you going to monitor the consistency? So these are the things that, the challenges that come up with these international products. But without these products, you won't keep innovating. You won't have that, oh, what's next? I heard, like, what are they going to do for Halloween or for Christmas, right? We already know what we're doing for Halloween and Christmas, so what's for summer, right? You always have to be ahead of the schedule. So
wow. And so then when you're doing all this international sourcing stuff, do you just fly over there and like meet a lot of different coffee drinkers there, or like coffee shop owners, and test things out? And like, do you learn how to make like a taro latte and bring it back home? Like, how does that work?
I mean, I wish I flew around the world just trying drinks and cookies all day, but unfortunately it's a little tough with time with that. So it's more you research things. So okay, I heard these 3 are really good. You ask around, and I'm gonna literally pick up the phone and give them a call. So you just hope they speak English. If not, then you figure it out. I mean, there's really no answer. If you call Company X in Japan, I know a couple words in Japanese, or you call Company X in in Spain, I know how to speak Spanish. So, okay, hey, I heard this is amazing. Can you give us a sample? Do you have a distributor here? And they go, no, we have a distributor in the US. Here's their number. Contact this person. Okay, now let me go that way. Yeah. So it really depends on how big the company is. Do they have a distributor? Can they even speak English? So, I mean, there's really no, hey, do X, do Y, do Z. Every single product, every single drink is different. So you're always just keep going with the flow. So, I mean, if you have a really good matcha, that doesn't mean you should stop. Like, where's the next one? I heard there's an even better one coming, or the same company is working on a better one. So when I was in LA, I was talking to the main alternate milk is called Pacific. It's the main, you'll see it all, like if you go get an almond latte or a soy, right. And they're just doing R&D, and they're like, we're coming up with this in 3 months, and this in 3 months, and this in 6 months. And I'm like, wow, I've never even heard of that. And they're like, no, it's coming to the US in 3 months. It'll come to Canada in a year. So it's really just, how can you get ahead and stay ahead of the curve? So that's kind of how we deal with our international suppliers. Okay,
wow. No, like, it's just really cool just hearing about all the various operations, like just the logistics, everything, like the nitty gritty stuff that actually goes into running a small business.
Yeah, I mean, I wish I could just fly there, but yeah, that's pretty much out of the option. So, I mean, sometimes you can, right, depending on what it is or where it is, but it's hard to just fly over the world,
right?
Even though it'd be nice.
Yeah, no, definitely. And so now you're expanding. You have like your 5th, 6th locations all coming up. But so in hindsight, your friends can say, "Oh yeah, like I knew you'd do well. I knew Armin would be like successful. Your family might be, I'm sure they're really proud of you for doing that." But what was their initial reaction when you told your close friends, your family members, like, yes, I'm gonna quit. I'm gonna go be a barista, and I'm gonna open up some coffee chains, and we're gonna see how that goes. How did that fly?
That was an interesting conversation. I'd say the initial, everyone's like, wait, what?
Yes, like classic first reaction. Yes.
Yeah, you're going to you're going from KPMG to a coffee shop. I just don't get it.
Right.
And, I try to explain to them, but at that time there was only one location. So
Right.
I'm trying to explain to them, and they're just like, Armin, I don't get it. And I'm like, you need to see the store. You need to see our vision that we have for the brand. Then you would really understand what we're saying. So they were a little surprised. My family and friends were, I always thought he was a numbers guy. He was just going to kind of move up the corporate ladder, maybe go to another job, or, VP finance, the classic accounting to exit opportunity. But after about 6 months, when we opened the second store, they said, oh, that's pretty cool. You guys have 2 stores. And then, they came to the actual stores, and that's when you realize, oh, I get what he's doing. So until I can sit here and talk about and say, Mos Mos is this, Mos Mos is that, but the only way you truly understand what it is come to one of the stores, any store, anytime, and then you'll kind of realize, okay, I see these guys. This is their vision for the future. So then when we opened the third store, that's when my family and friends said, okay, I got it. I get where you're going with the brand. I get what you're trying to do, how you expand. I get it now. But a lot has changed in the last 1.5 to 2 years in terms of the initial response to what it is now. Now it's a lot of excitement saying, hey guys, we're doing our 4th one in December. Oh wow, like where is it? What are you doing? Are you doing anything different? Are you going to have this? Are you going to have that? Is it a sit down one? Is it open on the weekends? That's something where now it's fun because we're always saying, okay, where's the next one? What can we do that's different, but we don't want to, go too far away from the vision. So it's always adding a small little twist to it, but keeping what we have done in the other 3 as well.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. And you spoke about how now, after like the 3rd store, everyone's like, all right, great, yeah, I can see it now. But I think when you mentioned about how even for the water place?
Water park.
Yeah, water park. How Oxford approached you guys and said, hey, do you want to do something like the Exchange Tower at our place? So now you have someone coming to you, but before then, when you're at the first location and looking to expand to the second one, and you're doing all that cupping and looking at all those YouTube videos, did you ever have moments of doubt or sometimes questioning your choices in terms of, is this really going to work? Is this really what I want to do? Will this turn into a passion?
So, a lot of times during those, when we had the first store and the second store, we would meet other landlords. But there a lot of, Mos Mos? And then okay, they have no idea who we are. And that's when it's not doubt, you would say. It's more, okay, how can we change how they're thinking that? So when we met a new landlord, whether it was in Toronto or wherever, and they had no idea who we are, that was something kind of to myself. I said, okay, we need to do something that this landlord in 6 months, when they see us, that this conversation doesn't happen again. So what can we do? Is it build a new website? So that's one thing we're doing now is we're kind of, if you go on our website right now, it's Mos Mos is coming back soon. Let's build a 2.0 website that really goes in line with our brand, our vision. Okay, how about social media? Everyone has Instagram these days. What can we do there? How about the physical stores? How about this? How about that? How about our POS? How about our advertising, our marketing? It's really just, what can we do so we don't have this conversation anymore? And in terms of doubt, I wouldn't say, there were never days where I said, oh man, like I wish I stayed at KPMG. That I never had, because as I said, it's always problem solving. You never want to just say, oh, okay, I'm done. I give up, because once you say that, it's done.
Yeah.
So you couldn't really say that at KPMG, like, oh, I have to do this section. I don't know how to do it. I'm just not going to do it.
Yeah. So
it's pretty much, it relates to the same thing in a small business. You can't ever doubt yourself, even when you want to, or, oh man, and like this happened, and this broke and that broke, and this lease is, we're still negotiating it, and it got pushed back 6 months. Like, wow, that is just bad news after bad news. Instead of more dwelling on the past, what am I going to do right then that is going to allow me to okay, so what? My old espresso machine broke. Pick up the phone, call your 8 new suppliers. Who maybe it's a good thing it broke. So what's next? Is there an espresso machine that is just out of this world that will allow you to make better espresso? It'll allow you to make better steam on your milk-based beverages. So that's kind of how I approach the situations of doubt with, okay, I got to fix this right away. So I'd call my partner, or he'd call me and say, hey, this happened. And that's what I would say our business background allowed us to do is, like 8 p.m. So there was one day where security called me at 1 a.m. saying, hey, your condenser it's making some super weird noises. Go to the shop, it's 1 a.m. And I say, okay, well, I'm calling the fridge guy.
Yeah.
He came at 2 a.m., 4 a.m. it was fixed. We went home the next day, no one even knew it. I mean, it is what it is, right? If something's wrong, you fix it.
Yeah.
You don't wait for something, you don't wait for someone else. There's always ways where, whether it's at 2 a.m. or 2 p.m. or it takes 1 hour or one phone call, we've learned from being in the business world, getting your CA. My partner was in investment banking. There's really no saying, oh, okay, we'll do this later. It's okay. Just fix it, and that will allow you to keep growing or keep the vision that we have today.
Yeah. And that vision that you have for Mos Mos, like, what is that vision? Like, if you could describe that.
So our vision for Mos Mos is really to become the next coffee player in the industry. We started with downtown Toronto because we definitely need a brand that everyone knows. We can't just go do 3 shops in Toronto and then open one in Vancouver. No one would know who we are. So the way we want to do it is solidify a brand. So our 4th and 5th location will also be downtown. And then now, okay, your brand is growing. So what's next? Is it somewhere on Bloor? Is it Yorkville? Is it York Region? And what do you guys want to do, right? And we get that question a lot. We want to now slowly go out of downtown Toronto and growing into these other areas I was mentioning. But there's really no stopping per se. I mean, we see Montreal, we see Vancouver, we see Calgary, we see East Coast. That's what our vision is, to become Canada-wide coffee. And we believe that if you keep your product and if you keep that experience that we've done with the 3 stores, that'll allow us to grow and do what we want to do.
Wow. No, that's a solid vision. And I think, have you read the book 0 to 1 by Peter Thiel?
No.
Have you heard of it?
No.
Okay, so it's Peter Thiel. He's a tech entrepreneur down in Silicon Valley. He's one of the co-founders of PayPal. And he wrote a book called 0 to 1, where one of the concepts he has there is that you practically want to dominate a region before you even think about expanding anywhere else. And I think when you're telling me that this book just popped into my mind in terms of, that's generally how you would build any kind of advantage for your brand, at least. That's really cool. And so I love coffee. I love coffee shops. And one of the things that I do sometimes dream about is actually owning my own coffee shop in the future. So if I wanted to open up a coffee shop and I came to you to consult me on it, what are the kind of steps that you'd lead me through in terms of going from zero, like nothing, to actually like starting and getting my first like one coffee shop?
Yeah, so the first thing I would say, do you like coffee? Mm-hmm. Right away. Mm-hmm. If you are doing it alone and you have no partners that like coffee, mm-hmm. if you don't love what you do, you're not going to love it. There's going to be times where someone will have a specific question about your coffee. Someone will say X, someone will say Y. Doesn't work. You have to really love coffee. So let's get that off the table. Next, it would be, okay, what's your vision for your coffee store? Is it this third wave type? Do you want a 200 square foot spot where people just come, grab and go and leave? Or are you looking for something where it's 1,800 square feet, you want to serve some sandwiches and soups and make it more into like a lunch style coffee shop? Now you narrow down, okay, this is what you like. At that time, you really need to know your vision now. So do you just want to open one coffee shop, or do you want to have 10 coffee shops? Do you want to do anything special? What do you want to do? What do you like doing? And then after we kind of get all the subjective questions out of the air, it would be, okay, now the hardest thing will be getting a lease at a fair rate. So when you are just a single person entity that is trying to open a coffee shop, so with these, I mean, it's tough, right? Brookfield, Oxford, Cadillac, they won't know who you are. They'll say, who is Joe Smith, right? They no idea. So, I can't vet them, sorry. So now you're going to, okay, I can't open in the Path. Maybe I can open in Distillery District or wherever you want to open. The number one thing is location. So if you want to open, in X area and you can't get a lease and you just say, whatever, I'll open in Y area. Are you sure? You have to be 100% sure, because once you commit to a lease, you're not getting out of it, right? You're going to open a store, you're going to create a brand, you're going to buy thousands and thousands worth of equipment and set up your suppliers and really spend months of your time. So you have to be 100% certain. So picking your location is really key, because you would have done lots of market research. You say, okay, I see 3 coffee shops here. I see X amount of people going into this coffee shop, Y amount of people going into that coffee shop. And I think there's room for me here. And okay, why is there room now? Now, how are you going to get a great product? That isn't hard, right? That isn't hard because there's so much great coffee out there. But what is hard is dealing with your suppliers and getting it at a fair price and making sure logistically, okay, my coffee gets delivered Monday, Wednesday, Friday. What happens if the driver's sick? What happens if there's traffic on the DVP? What happens if your machine breaks? Now, what happens if one day my coffee isn't consistent? That's where the problems come in. So you really need to go meet your suppliers and see, okay, you're telling me you're really good at roasting? Okay, I'll stay there for the entire day. I'm going to just watch you guys roast. Okay, now I get how you do this. I get, okay, if this goes down, that happens. I see that the quality is always 10 out of 10. You're following it by the book. You're adding even more value when you do this and when you do that. I really feel comfortable with the supplier. Now, how do I make sure logistically the supplier delivers to me? And, how do I know how much to order? Because the one thing about coffee is you definitely don't want it just sitting there, because it just won't taste good. So you want it fresh. So let's say you order X amount of kilograms. Oh man, like it's sitting there for a month. Well, after 2 weeks, it's pretty much garbage. So now, are you even coming out financially positive? Is that, how's that going? So there's so many little questions where we would sit down and we would say, okay, number 1 is, do you love coffee? Number 2, location. Number 3, your physical coffee. Number 4, suppliers. And number 5, your controls. So how will you do scheduling? How will you do payroll? How will you do are you going to text someone to order milk? Are you going to pick up the phone? Do you use an app? How do you make sure you have what you need and it stays fresh? How do you want to, if person X is sick and they can't come into work, how do you now, okay, they're opening the store and they're sick, what do I do? Right? So you need to put all these processes in place, and you'll have them all on a piece of paper and say, okay, here are here's my business model. This is my answer to each one. Okay, now it comes down to the last question is finances, right? You obviously, are you comfortable with taking the risk? Or is this something you don't feel comfortable with? Are you going to use your own money, your family or friends' money, a bank? I mean, that's all. At the end of the day, that's up to you. But you just have to be comfortable. You have to put out money, build a store, get this equipment, get that equipment. And then you'll see, okay, if I don't give a good product or a good service, it's not going to be cash flow positive. So you're pretty much done. So you have to make sure those 5 things are really solidified, and then you can justify your finances. But when you actually open the store, as I said before, right, lots of coffee shops have great coffee. the number one, in my opinion, the number one most important aspect is HR. So if you have good coffee, your beans are great. What if you're making it wrong? What if your staff are doing something wrong or adding something they shouldn't be? Or, they're not giving that friendly, upbeat experience that you want in a coffee shop. There's a certain drama and atmosphere coffee shops have, right? That's why people spend Sundays there.
Yeah.
If your staff aren't now replicating that to your customers, it doesn't matter if your product's good, because I went in there and nothing, just I felt, oh yeah, it's a good coffee. Yeah, I'm gonna go down the street where they also have great coffee, but they're they know me by name, they do this, they do that for me. That is one thing where, especially in coffee shops, like we have, if you come at 9 a.m., we have 8 or 9 people working. Staff is number one, right? They're the ones who are going to show your brand to the world. They're the ones serving your actual product. They're the ones who run the store, right? When I go in and, we thought this was operationally more efficient, I just moved the milk from X counter to Y counter, go ahead. That's what you guys are there to do. You know better than us, because you are the face of our brand, and that's the way we want to carry the brand, saying, okay, I want to go to Mos Mos because I really like their matcha, but also I have 2 friends, they're always there, they're so nice, and we talk about this and we do this, and that's the aspect that you cannot lose when you keep growing. So whether you have 1 store or 10 stores, personally, I would like to know every single staff by name, what they do for fun, etc., right? You really need to know them, and you need to get them to believe in the brand. Once they believe in the brand and believe in the product, that's when you'll see it just flows. So that's the biggest piece, I would say, is definitely HR.
Man, I got chills when you said that, just because so it's actually something I preach a lot, and as an investor, that's actually a very big thing that I do look towards as well when I would look at public companies, when I interview CEOs, because when you think of a great company, the first thing people always look at is, okay, does it have high return on invested capital, and you go, okay, can it have high ROIC for 10 years?
Yeah.
But then, okay, how do you get high ROIC? Okay, well, you got to generate cash flow. Okay, you have either grow sales or cut costs. Okay, there's operational efficiency or excellence that can focus on the bottom line, and then you have how are you going to get great, increase in sales, customer support, customer services, everything about the customer, right? And okay, how are you going to get great customer service? Oh, your employees give great customer service, but your employees probably won't give great customer service if they don't feel like they're taken care of. You got to take care of your people first, and then the change just all starts from there. And so when you just said oh yeah, HR stuff, I definitely related to that one, and definitely got excited when you're telling me about that too. And yeah, it does matter, I think, especially for coffee shops, because one of your competitors, I'm not going to name the name, but a friend of mine was a barista there, and so I went very often, and as soon as my friend started working there, I started going more often, because I started to get to know the other staff members too, and slowly I saw the whole staff kind of turning over, and my friend quit as well. And I said, what happened? And he was saying, oh yeah, they're treating us terribly, and we're all gonna quit, and now it's all new faces, so I don't even recognize anybody in that coffee shop anymore. But before I was in Toronto, I was working in Calgary for a bit. I went to this one single coffee shop all the time, and everyone there knew me. They knew my order exactly.
Yep.
I'd come in and say, oh, you're gonna get a medium coffee with an almond croissant? And I was like, oh, not today. But they knew just right away. And if I'm not there on a Saturday and I'm going to next week, they'll say, oh, we missed you, where were you? And I was like, oh, I was traveling. But yeah, that people aspect is super important. And I think, when you take care of your people first, definitely shows. And that's, I think, how you actually generate that to your customers. So no, that was really cool hearing you say that.
I mean, even look at KPMG, right? How many hundreds of thousands do they say, oh, we need to spend this to attract top talent? And when I was there, I was like, they keep saying, okay, the big four is the big four, right? They're all massive. They all pretty much do generally the same work. It's just their clients are different. The people. And I remember when I was interviewing, that's all they say is, do you fit here, or do you fit at PwC, or do you fit at EY, or are you more of a Deloitte kind of person? And in the beginning, I was just like, I don't get it. Like, I think they're pretty much all the same. And then when I did the interviews right away after a half hour, I was like, I get it right away. I started KPMG and I saw okay, the fit between the people, me and my friends that are at this Big Four versus the other Big Four, right away that what they're saying by the people, the culture. And now that's one thing I think they got it, spot on, is it's everywhere. It's not just KPMG. It's not just coffee shops. It really is everywhere. You go into a retail store and they're selling shoes. That's the same thing. If you don't, the staff, the shoes are going to be great, but there's 500 pairs of shoes. How am I going to know which one to choose, right? There's 40 different drinks at a coffee shop. I've never been there. How are your staff going to take the vision and, take that person and make them feel warm and comfortable and give them what they want? So, I mean, it's a no-brainer for me. Definitely HR is number one.
Yeah. And, we went through a lengthy, I guess, overview of, okay, what goes in the mind of someone who is actually operating a business. So if we went down now more to the nitty-gritty, and so I think we were supposed to have our interview yesterday, but something came up, and so we pushed back to today. And so if you could describe to me your day yesterday, what goes on? When do you start?
Well,
can you take me through the hour by hour of what goes into your day?
Coffee is more an earlier thing. So our stores open at 6:30. All three stores. Our staff are there at 5:30-ish. Every day, every single day is different, right? Like today I'm sitting here doing the podcast. Yesterday, one of our espresso machines, I found it wasn't frothing that well. And by now it's been 2 years where I open these things up, and one of the techs are my really good friends. So I called him. I said, hey, look, why is this doing this? And he's just like, it's fine. I'm like, no, it's not. And he's like, you guys call me for the littlest things. And I'm like, yeah, I'm always going to call you if one little thing is up. So he just okay, unscrew this, look at this. And there was a small little wire that was bent. And that took an hour to find, because these things are massive, right? You got to unscrew them. And so that was my 10 to 11, you can say.
Yeah.
The rest of the day we have a couple new products we're working on. So the afternoon was spent with, testing and experimenting. I went to all three stores, just, say hi to the staff. The order station, I took some orders for half an hour at each store. And then we're concentrating on our design right now for our fourth store. So at night, it was really, okay, answer. Surprisingly, you'd be surprised how many emails you get. And I thought I'd leave KPMG, look at my phone sometimes. I'm like, wow, 15 unread? How does that even happen? Yeah. So it's really it's the same as KPMG. You're, answer the emails. But this is okay, it's on you. So here's the design. Tell us your changes. If you don't want any changes, we're going to start building the store. So you can't slip, right? You got to look at the nitty gritty detail of how many inches is the TV off the floor, right? I think it's 3 inches too high, lower it, right? So now we actually went back to the store at night and we took the plan that our designer had and we just remodeled it with everything in the store. So that was kind of our 8 to 10 p.m. But every day is different. After this, I'll definitely go to water park, see how everyone's doing, kind of check up on things, make sure that espresso machine that was a little funky is not funky. But that's what every day is, just making sure if there's a tiny little thing that's wrong, okay, for some reason, like yesterday, our steam was a tiny bit off. To us, that's a red flag right away. You're gonna fix that. It could be no problem at all, but right away, go to that store, fix it. You got to attend to it. Or we're working on some apps that will help kind of solidify and speed up our training. So that's something for, we have the fourth store, the fifth store, and etc. We want to make sure that whether you're there for one day, whether I'm making the drink, or you're making the drink, or someone who's been there for 5 years, that drink is the same. So as of now, that's always the same, and we want to just make sure what more controls can we put into place. And this goes back to, controls from the accounting world, which is funny, but it's honestly true, is so no matter what, even if we take a customer, and we've done this before where we have a customer 3 times a day and they're like, I just want to, like, I love, how do you guys do it? Come make a drink. And they get so excited and happy. And even if they make it, it should be the same as me making it. So what are these controls? And that's kind of what I'll do for the rest of the day, is work on this app I'm speaking about. So
yeah. Wow. And I guess the first point of curiosity is, like, when you go through the various, like, market testings and stuff, are you actually just approaching customers with, like, various different products and, like, hey, want to try this out, and just doing a lot of guerrilla testing?
Like that's the number one, right? You make a drink, wait, try this, try this, try that, what do you like better? And they'll say, okay, I tried it 100 times, it's obvious item B, that's the one they like better. And then we do a couple more tests. Okay, all our staff will try it, or I'll say, hey, should we try this or do a little bit of this? But it's the number one way you learn is you just ask customers. They're the ones who will be drinking the product anyways. So if I personally think, oh man, this is great, like, this is gonna sell, and I give it to 10 customers and 5 of them say so, I guess I was wrong, right? You need to know what the customers are thinking, and that's something where what I like dark black coffee, espresso, triple shot, nothing in it. That's not necessarily what our customers like. So I have to put myself in their shoes and say, okay, maybe this is not milky enough, or maybe this is not sweet enough, or maybe this is X or this is Y. So it's really just ask. I mean, why wouldn't they want to try oh, hey, this is our new peppermint X, or our new pumpkin spice, or our new whatever it may be. Like, why wouldn't you, as a customer, want to try it and say, oh, wow, it's really good, or, oh, yeah, sure, I'll try it anyways. So, yeah.
Oh, no, that's really cool. And, like you said, a coffee shop is a daily business. You have customers interacting with you every day. And so I'm sure a lot of things happen, like from logistics side, supply side, all that. So what would you say is, like, the biggest obstacle that comes up in your mind that you've had to face so far, and you went, damn, that was a tough one?
The biggest obstacle for sure is dealing with suppliers logistically, and then making sure, as I said before, your team, your HR, your staff has the same vision as you. So it's really just, okay, let's say we interviewed 5 people, and you just sit back and say, I don't know why, like, maybe none of them have our vision. But at the same time, you can interview 2 people and say, wow, they're both amazing. So it's really making sure that each and every staff really has the same vision and kind of, okay, I get the brand feeling. And then with our suppliers is every supplier works totally differently. Some are super automated, app only, cutoff times, everyday delivery, you have windows for drop-offs, and others are, hey, pick up the phone and call me and I'll deliver it at 6 a.m. So it's not the corporate world where everything is structured per se, right? It's coffee. Sometimes they say, oh, the farm, this happened. It's strawberry saying, oh, they're out of season right now, right? So it's always changing, and the suppliers are always changing because they're trying to do what we're trying to do, is make everything easier. So logistically, oh, hey guys, we're switching factories. That means you are going to have overnight delivery now. Okay, if we have overnight delivery, how does that work? They need our key. If they have frozen materials, what if our freezer is full, right? It's just simple things that when I do them, sure, I think, move this and we're going to use this tomorrow, but what if our fridge is full? Where do you put the milk? So it's just like simple things that turn up to be, okay, these are kind of big problems. Do we need another fridge?
Right.
But we don't have room for another fridge. So what are you going to do? Okay, let's have a double drop off where they drop off at 6 a.m. and they drop off at 6 p.m. Now we're good. So it's kind of just working with all the suppliers and seeing, okay, what can we do with supplier X that'll be totally different than what we do with supplier Y. So that's kind of the challenges you would say in daily operation.
Damn. Oh, that's really cool. And you know, I think those are challenges that not a lot of people would see or even like understand, like unless you actually like explain it to them that like if the fridge is full, then we gotta think about all these other things.
That was one where like there was no, like if you come into our water parks, there's no room for a fridge. It's all glass, right? So how are you do a double drop off and the company's I've never done that before, right? Like, and I'm like, okay, well, let's try it out, right?
Yeah.
And they're like, okay, it works well. Or the overnight delivery thing, downtown Toronto is an absolute nightmare to drive, especially if you're a truck. The truck doesn't clear the loading dock, right? Like these little things that you just won't even think of, and they're like, hey, the truck didn't clear the loading dock, so I couldn't drop off your stuff. I mean, that's unacceptable, right? How do we fix that? You go to an overnight delivery and they use a smaller truck and you walk them through it once. So 3 a.m. you meet them and you say, hey, look, put this here, put that there, put that there. Here's a list, here's the key. This checklist now is 100% objective. Nothing can go wrong. And you clear the loading dock height. So you're not saying my truck doesn't fit, right? Like these little things, like when that happened, I was like, that doesn't even surprise me anymore, right? Yeah. It's always, if it's not this, it's that kind of thing. So,
that just gets me really like riled up, just because that's just so cool, and I think that's just, especially coming from the perspective as an investor that I'm, or even when you're an accountant, you only look at the financial statements, right? And even if you talk to some people, you still don't get the big picture until we go down into the problems that you see, and that's just really insightful. And so what do you think is the biggest misconception that your friends or family or sometimes like the media gets wrong about running a coffee shop?
I think the number one misconception is, it's coffee. How hard could it be, right? I mean, you have milk, you have coffee, and you have some machines, and you just brew it.
Yeah.
I had the same misconception. I thought, okay, it probably is hard, but when you actually dive in and you realize how much, 10 milliliters versus 20 milliliters versus 15, that makes a difference. Milk is overfull, right? These little problems that you would have never even thought of happen on a daily basis. Oh, okay, our condenser broke, right? You can't touch that stuff. It's dangerous, right? You got to call a guy, but it's 1 a.m., but we need it we open at 6:30 a.m. What are you going to do, right? These are the things that I would have never thought about. It's an oven. It's not going to break. Like, why would it break? Oh, there's a this leak and a that leak, and your drainage is this, and okay, well, what am I going to do? It's a lot of kind of just figuring it out. And then even with your equipment, if you walk into our stores, you'll see we have a lot of equipment, and nothing is from Canada. So that's the other thing, saying, okay, this is German, that's American, that's Japanese, what am I going to do? Okay, call the supplier because the distributor is too busy. Okay, I call the supplier, they don't speak English. Well, too bad, I got to fix it, right? So I got to get them to kind of walk me through it with broken English, or I got to get an app that translate their language into, like, you just fix it, right? That's the number one misconception, is I just think there's so many problems that could happen that you would have never assumed happen on a daily or weekly basis.
Yeah, no, I from what you're telling me, definitely, I think I had that misconception too, and I think it's really common. Like when people say, "Oh yeah, there's another coffee shop. It's probably easy to run." It's like it's a water-based business. It's you just pour coffee and that's it. But yeah, I think from what you tell me, like that whole logistical aspect is just crazy. And so as we kind of round up to, I think, the final segments of the interview, what kind of end vision do you have for yourself personally? Like if you could think out like 10 years time, what do you see, and how do you see yourself growing and things evolving?
So how we see ourselves growing is, once we kind of solidify our downtown core, we're going to slowly move out of downtown. Again, this goes back to having that team in place, the HR in place that will allow you to grow. So having managers and district managers, a regional general manager, a provincial manager, whatever that may be, having a solidified corporate structure that will allow you to, okay, I need to do 3 stores in Calgary in 2021 in 3 months. How are we going to do that? So that's how we'll grow, is have that corporate structure solidified. In terms of where I see myself in 10 years, I would personally like to be going store to store. Let's say, today I'm going to go to 5 stores in Montreal. So hop on a plane, go to Montreal, see how the stores are doing, right? One thing we never want to forget is the product. So, okay, today I'm going to Montreal. Tomorrow now, let's go back. The entire day is focused on what's next, or how can we make what we have today better? How do we get ready for summer? How do we make this cookie or this sandwich better? So it's really just not stopping per se. And I mean, in 10 years, we definitely think we'll be Canada-wide. That's the goal. So hopefully I'll be in Vancouver one day, in a roasting facility the next day, and in Montreal on the third day. So that's kind of where I see myself.
Oh, that's great, and I really do hope that does come to fruition in 2028. And so what's the belief that you have that you think goes against conventional wisdom?
So in terms of schooling or just
anything?
So the way Ivy kind of taught us was, hey, pick one of these 4, right? You're going to do marketing, accounting, finance, or consulting. Okay, sure. I'll pick one. But what if I want to do something else, right? That's one thing where even just your classmates and the interactions you have with your class is, oh, I got an interview with XYZ Bank. I got an interview with, XYZ marketing company. It's a atmosphere that it's good, because obviously these companies are amazing, right? They teach you so much, but there's a part of me that says, what if I never did KPMG and I did something else? Where would I be today? Would we be ahead? Would we be behind? I don't know. But one thing you can say it's cheesy, but if you don't like working where you're working, why are you working? At the end of the day, there's so many jobs out there, and someone with an education background, I got my kin degree, okay, and then I'm just going to get my master's and kind of figure it out. Do you really want to get your master's? No, I have nothing. Yeah, I'll just get it for the sake of getting it. Okay, well then, why, right? If you want to get it because you thoroughly enjoy it, then 100% do it. But the way kind of society has positioned ourselves today is just, especially in Toronto, is work. Like, work comes first, 9 to 5, and it's 9 to 6, 9 to 9, 9 to midnight, whenever it may be. But you go over to Europe, it's a whole nother game. People really enjoy what they do. 9 to 3. There's some places that are 8 to 2. I've seen it all over the map, but really enjoy what you're going to do. And when you wake up, you're excited. You don't wake up and hit snooze on your alarm clock 7 times and say, 3 more days till Friday. You wake up and you say, okay, cool. Like, what am I going to do today? So that's the one thing where I'd say a lot of people say, don't take that risk. Don't jump off the bridge per se. But you'll never know what you find, right? You can, if it doesn't work, it doesn't work. You go back to doing, whatever you were doing, whether it be working for a large company or a smaller company in their accounting team. But if you never go for it, you'll never know. So you'll look back in 10 years and say, wow, one of my good friends just did it and they love what they're doing now, and I really don't like what I'm doing. And at the end of the day, how important is money to you versus doing what you love? And that's a question that I can't answer for anyone, but that's a question where I'd say definitely sit back and, without anyone else's opinion, what is it, right? Is it worth it to do what you're doing because of the money? Is it worth it to do what you're doing because of the opportunity for growth? Or are you just doing what you're doing because of the stigma of jumping out from such a great job and you're opening a coffee shop, right? Like, why is it what you're doing, right? So that's kind of the thing I'd say the most is love what you're doing. For sure.
No, 100%. I think, like you mentioned, especially in downtown Toronto, specifically within our friend group as well, I think there's a lot of droning where people you're just doing your clock in, clock out kind of deal. You don't think. And I think what you said touched upon this really well in terms of just having intent with what you're doing, actually knowing why you're doing something. Oh, I'm going to do accounting because I want to learn the language of business, I want to get my CA, and then I'm going to do something. Do it with intent, like actually think about what you're trying to do and actually do some introspection of why. Ask yourself all these questions. Why are you doing this? Why are you doing that? Instead of just having a very blunt kind of first level thought of, I'm just going to do it. It's a job. And sometimes, like maybe you're tight on money. Maybe you just have to do this just to get money. That's cool. But know why you're doing all these things. And I think, those are really important things that people should always consider to ask themselves. Like, that was a question that I failed to ask myself in my early career, like back when I was in audit. And later on, eventually, I was forced to ask that question after, going through multiple rounds of just hardcore busy seasons, and it just kind of came up, and I said, okay, now I'm finally asking that question. And that's when I left. And I think, like, people need to ask that question earlier on, the better. But great. It's a great belief, and I think also great advice for people definitely in earlier parts of the career, and also I think later parts of the career too. Like, I'm
anywhere, right?
Like I'm spending a lot of time just constantly when I grab coffee, like asking my friends, like, okay, like, you don't want my advice on how to get into a hedge fund. You want my advice on asking the right questions to yourself on why do you even want to be an investor? Why do you want to do this, for example? So, no, this was an amazing conversation. I really enjoyed it. And so, I want to give you a chance to, give a shout out to your stores, like your locations, so our audience members can find it as well. So please go ahead.
Yeah, for sure. I enjoyed it a lot. It was cool. It was my first experience. Really just talk about the business, meet you. And in terms of Mos Mos, so we have 3 locations right now. They're open from Monday to Friday. They're in the Path, downtown. First one's in Commerce Court, and the second one is Exchange Tower. The third one is Water Park Place. So they're all relatively close to the subway. So it would be King Station, St. Andrews Station, Union Station. And we're opening our 4th location in December. We're going to announce the location in 2 weeks once we finalize everything. This location will be our first store where we're open on the weekends. We have tables. It's more of a sit-down spot.
Oh, excellent.
Hope to see you there on Sundays.
Yeah.
And then we're wrapping up a 5th location downtown as well, and that'll be more of a that'll be more of a surprise, you can say. Okay. So let's when that'll be ready soon too. So we'll announce that one when we're good to go. But yeah, I mean, right now Monday to Friday, if anyone's downtown hasn't heard of it, please stop by. And then for the winter, we'll be open on the weekends, so we can come see you on Sundays and just sit there for 4 hours and do your thing. Yeah, no, great. Thanks so much, Armin. I really appreciate your talk, and hope the audience got a lot of value out of it. Thank you. Appreciate it. Yep. So thanks for listening to the podcast. If you enjoyed what you heard, please check out other episodes, and don't forget to subscribe to stay up to date for the future episodes. Also, I would really appreciate it if you would leave a review on iTunes, Google Play, or Stitcher, whichever is applicable to you. To see past episodes, you can go to oldmandan.com/podcasts. Also, you can sign up to my weekly newsletter on my blog, oldmandan.com/newsletter. You can stay up to date with future podcast episodes that way, and included in the newsletter
are my book reviews I write, my weekly article related to the domain of self-development systems, as well as 7 things I learned throughout the week on being healthy, wealthy, and wise. Finally, special thanks to icons8.com for allowing me to use their music Tiny People on the podcast. Great. I will see you all next time. Take care.